everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we are starting a witchy reading vlog. So this is one of my 2 October Halloween themed vlogs that I'm planning. So the first one is obviously witchy reads, and the second one hopefully will be reading horror books. So what am I planning to read? So if you watched my Spookopolis-on TBR / just general October TBR, because I didn't just play Spookopoly, then you might have an idea of some of the books that I'm planning on reading. I haven't 100% decided because there's like a couple that I'm like, maybe not. So the first book will be The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. So this is a romance book set in the real world, but there is witches, and we follow a woman, and she and her boyfriend have just broken up, and he is moving back to Wales, and so she is heartbroken, and with her cousin she curses him with a Bath and Body Works candle. And then years later, when he returns to recharge the ley lines, she discovers it actually may have worked better than she thought it did. And book number 2 is going to be another witchy romance. Also, let's be honest, I mightn't actually read them in this order. It's going to be A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. I believe this one is more fantasy than The Ex-Hex is, but it is still romance. So this one I think follows a witch, and she is very good at like plant-based kind of magic, but one day some sort of spell goes wrong and she summons a demon, and this demon will not leave until she basically makes a deal to sell her soul to him. And then obviously a romance happens between the two of them. I feel like a lot of like the heavy fantasy books that involve witches, I've read most of them. Those 2 are the definites that I'm going to be reading because those 2 are on my TBR for the month. But I do have some that I'm like, if I could, I think I would like to read that. Book number 3, I think it's going to be Kiki's Delivery Service. It is translated from Japanese. It's a kid's book. It's really short. It's really sweet. But I do love Kiki's Delivery Service. So I think, you know, that is like the epitome of cute witchy. I don't know if the plot is the same as it is in the book, but I imagine it is. So it follows a young witch called Kiki, and she has to go on kind of an adventure and work in a different town to prove herself as a witch, and she ends up starting a delivery service. It's very cute. I might also watch the movie while I'm at it. And then the 4th one is the one that I'm really kind of like iffy about. So we're kind of bouncing between 2. So A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I have the audiobook from my library, but I don't think that this will be a book for me. And then the other one, I feel like it's probably like when people think like witchy, practical magic. Again, another one. I actually am waiting for this one from my library. I have heard that it hasn't aged the best. I actually don't even know what it's about because I've actually never even seen the movie. I know that it follows, I think, sisters, and there's some sort of curse on their family. I feel like a lot of like fantasy witch books, I feel like I've read a lot of them. You know, like Bear and the Nightingale, I would call that a kind of witchy book. The Witch King by Martha Wells. The Course of Dragon series. The Scalaman series. Like Middle Game also kind of fits that vibe, but not really. And like, that's also the other thing, is like I was looking for ones where like they're like specifically said witch. Whereas like a lot of books, like a lot of fantasy books, you know, you could be like, well, yeah, they're kind of witchy, but like they're not given like the title of witch. Like as I said, with like things like Middle Game feel very witchy, but I don't think they're not technically. I mean, The Bone Witch by Rinch Pecco, Truth Witch, The Raven Cycle. That I've read a lot of, I feel like, the fantasy witch stuff, kind of going a bit more for like the cutesy, romancy kind of stuff, but we're still going with the witchy vibes. So yeah. Speaking of which, I have actually gotten 1/3 into my first book for this video. It's The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling, and I like it. I don't love it. So I've already given you a synopsis of what this is about. I guess I thought there would be a bit more tension. Like there is tension, but like it's very obvious that like they're both still very much into each other, despite the fact it's been 9 years. Like they're not over each other at all. And I'm kind of like, just admit that you're not over each other. But I do enjoy their dynamic and like their banter. His luck is terrible and there's a lot of bad things happening, and she is just kind of like making fun of him, and he's like making fun of her back. I really enjoy, like, as I said, I really enjoy their dynamic. I'm enjoying like kind of the plot itself, because like basically like the charging of the ley lines and all of this, I do enjoy like kind of the cozy witchy atmosphere that is in this book. But I'm just like not fully absorbed. Like I'm like, yeah, I can see like their cute banter and all of that, but like I don't really care that much about, I'm not really invested in them like getting together. And also, I'm not the biggest fan of the writing style. I don't see the point of overwriting your sentences, which I kind of feel like she is doing a little bit, but I am still enjoying it. Right now, I would say it's sitting at between a 3 and a 4. So we'll see. As I said, I'm a third of the way through, so about 100 pages. It's a pretty short book. I should finish it today. Hello. So I don't really have too much to add since I last spoke to you. Pretty sure it's going to be a 3-star, which is a little disappointing because like I really thought that this would be like my kind of a romancy book, but no, not really. It all just kind of falls flat. Just nothing is really gripping me. I'm intrigued about like the curse and the magic, and like they definitely have like good moments between them, but I think I expected a little more of a like kind of autumn Halloween kind of atmosphere, and like it is set at Halloween, and like I don't really feel it, which is a bit of a bummer. And then the other thing is like, well, I like their banter. I think that they have like, they have really good banter, and I enjoy them both fairly well as characters. Like I don't love them or anything, but I like them. But that's kind of all they have. They have that like banter. They don't have anything else. Like I want to see like the sweet moments as well, and they just don't have any of that, which is kind of bugging me. It can't just, like for me in romance books, I don't want it to just be chemistry and banter. I want it to be, you know, sweet and soft and cute, and I'm just not getting that in here. And as I said, also that atmosphere just isn't quite doing it. So yeah, but I am 2/3 of the way in, so 1/3 to go, and then I'll come back again. Okay, so I have finished the XX by Aaron Sterling, and I'm giving it 3 stars. And I really don't have anything to add to it that I haven't already said. It just, I have a feeling I'm gonna forget about this book real quick. It, like, as I said, like, I enjoyed it well enough while I was reading it, but it's definitely not gonna stick with me. It's definitely not a romance that I have particularly enjoyed, and I'm still trying to figure out my reading taste, because I don't really know what I did and didn't like about it. It just, none of it really worked for me. But like, it wasn't as though like, oh, I really hated this trope, or I really hated the miscommunication or the third act conflict. There wasn't really one. It just, none of it like really gelled with me. But like, there was nothing terrible about it. Just, it was okay. Everything was okay with it, and so it's a 3-star. So yeah, I didn't really get the witchy vibes that I wanted. Like, yes, it is definitely like, they are witches, there's no denying that, but I guess I wanted like a little bit more of an atmosphere, you know, kind of like, you know, the autumn cozy vibes. I kind of wanted that a bit more. We didn't really get it. Then I liked the characters, but I just didn't really care about them. I don't think either of them really got much development. We're kind of introduced to them and like things that are going on in their life, people that are around them, like maybe some like complicated family relationships. That stuff never really goes anywhere. Then, as I said earlier, like the romance, like yes, they did have chemistry and they did have really good banter, but I want more than that. I want the sweet and loving moments as well, not just, oh, he's so hot and let me make a sarcastic comment to him. I want more than that. Okay, not witchy vibes, but Rebecca has gotten ideas, which is never a good thing. Oops. So obviously my bed used to be pushed up against the wall, so now we've pushed it out a little so it's nearly to the door, and I have my bookshelf there. I'm going to put my Schwab shelf there for now, and then obviously I have a bedside locker that I'm going to put in there, and then but eventually I'm going to replace the little wooden shelf with the white bookshelves, because all my furniture is white anyway. And then I do actually also want to get a new bedside locker, because my one is literally falling apart. Hold up. Okay, so I'll probably show you the bookshelves and all that tomorrow. Like, it's really not that different, except like I haven't like rearranged anything. Like, it's the exact same. So like, I'll like give you a quick overview probably tomorrow, because I'm lazy right now. But I'm starting Kiki's Delivery Service. I should probably read that in like 2 hours tops. So I'm gonna read that this evening. I have speed skating on, short track speed skating. I imagine it's gonna be pretty similar to the Studio Ghibli movie, but I guess we'll see. So come in the door. Here is one shelf. So we have middle grade into YA fantasy, into YA fantasy, into YA contemporaries, into YA sci-fi, into adult contemporary, adult horror, adult sci-fi, nonfiction. Then we have this stuff. Please ignore that stuff because those books are being unhauled. This chair is broken and needs to go in the bin. This needs to go in the attic, but we want to get a box to put it in to keep it safe. The lava lamp is also going out, and these are also going out. So eventually this entire space will be clear. Then we have the wardrobe. We have a load of stuff on top of the wardrobe. Do we need to reorganize that at some point? Not right now. Then chest of drawers, me, hi. Then we have table, keyboard, bed with a load of stuff on it. Let's please ignore. Then we have bookshelves. So the goal is to have another one. So that'd be nice. Hello. I read the entirety of Kiki's Delivery Service last night. I gave it 3 stars. I don't really have too much to say on it. I mean, it is a kid's book and all that. It's sweet. It's cute. I prefer the movie. But I was like, a lot of like the witchy books that like I'm really interested in, I've already read them. Like I'm reading all of these, and like I wanted to do a witchy reading vlog because I was like, I wanted to do something like kind of Halloweeny, but not like horror. I mean, I am doing a horror one as well, but like I wanted to do like 2 vlogs. And so I was like, what else can I do? And I was like, we'll do a witchy one because like I don't like vampires, werewolves, all those kind of things. Like witchy, that is my preference. I mean, I was a charmed girly growing up. And like, so like always loved that kind of stuff growing up. And it just, but like, as I said, because I've actually read like all of like the really popular witchy books that like interest me, I've already kind of read them all. And so I'm reading books in here. Like, yes, they do enjoy, like the XX. I was convinced I was gonna like that more than I actually ended up doing it. But like things like Kiki's Delivery Service, like I would have been fine never reading it. It was never like a book that was like, I really need to read that book. Because like it's not my favorite Studio Ghibli movie. I'm not gonna lie, I am basic. Howl's Moving Castle is my favorite one. Or My Neighbor Totoro. No, probably Howl's Moving Castle. And I do love that book. Again, another kind of witchy book. Rate movies or anything, but I feel like for me, Kiki's Delivery Service, the movie, is 4 stars. I don't rate movies because like I swear, like it's very rare for me not to enjoy a movie. Like I just like, you know, I just turn my brain off. I watch it. I don't care about plot holes or stuff like that. Like if I don't like a movie, that's how you know the movie's bad or boring. I will say they are extremely similar. Like there is kind of like the big like kind of like nearly final thing that happens like in Kiki's Delivery Service, like the movie. It's the whole like flying thing goes wrong, whereas like kind of like the big thing in the book is like New Year's and the clock isn't working. I feel like you just get a lot more development of the characters and all of that within the movie. And as I said, I just think it fits. Like the music and the illustration and all of that, it really does add to the story. And like there is actually some illustrations in the book, and like those are really beautiful and all of that. And I just think it was adapted brilliantly. And like that's not to say this is a bad book. It's 3 stars. I liked it. I thought it was cute. It just, I think my main problem was like, oh my god, it just jumped around. Like it takes place over a year. It's 200 pages, which I mean it is a kid's book. That's fine. So she arrives in this town. That day she's like, okay, I'm gonna start a delivery service. Okay, that's quick. Meets the baker and you know she's pregnant and all of that, and then literally the next day it's like the next day I couldn't start my business because she gave birth. And I'm like, that was quick. And so like it was a lot of that. It's like then 10 days later I decided I finally got my first job, and then it's like, and then 2 months later I was out in this area and I was doing this. And so like it's just so much jumping around, and I honestly think it would have been better if it took place over a shorter amount of time. Although this town is like reluctant to trust witches, and so if we saw like over like even like a month or so, you know, people like slowly starting to like come to her for business and all of that. I think that will have made it flow a lot better than just like jumping around an entire year, because we really don't get any of the development. But overall, it was sweet, it was cute, I had a good time. I feel like this is like a spring witch book. It's a spring witchy book. It's not an autumn witchy book. Okay, so I'm a third of the way into A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon, and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's gonna be a 4-star. Hopefully it'll continue the way it's going, but it is quite long for a romance, so I'm worried that it's gonna like start getting repetitive and boring. And also the problem is I found that the best way for me to read romance is in one sitting, like one day, binge it. That usually gives the best results. I kind of gotta get a move on because it's like 8 o'clock and I'm only a third of the way through, so we gotta keep going. Not the biggest fan of the writing style. There's just something about the descriptions that don't quite do it for me. It seems to like have gotten less like that as it's gone on. Like the first chapter or so was like really heavy on the description, I think. And I don't know, there's just something off about like some of the sentence structures. But like it seems to be less like that as the book has gone on, so I don't really know what that was about. I like the characters. I love the premise. The two of them, oh, they're so funny. They're so funny. I'm a little nervous that like, because one of my big problems with XX, which I mean, let's be honest, it wasn't that long ago I was talking about it to you. It's been a while for me, but was the fact that like they kept bringing up like, you know, issues with their parents and in their personal lives and all of that, not related to romance, and then it just never got touched on. And it's kind of similar in here as well. Both of them have their own, you know, personal struggles. Again, some of it revolving around family. And I mean, like, obviously I just got burned by the XX, so I'm like, oh, are they gonna actually deal with this? But considering it seems to be like it's already being more talked about than in the XX, and we're only a third of the way through, I'm pretty sure that's going to be dealt with, which is nice. And yeah, they have a really good chemistry, and yeah, and there's more than just chemistry and more than just banter. Like, yes, there is that, but there's like genuine like sweetness and fondness and like care there, which I appreciate. So I'm 2/3 of the way in, and I'm still feeling pretty similar-ish. Like, I'm still enjoying, I will say, 2 kind of issues. Number 1, I do think I was right about it being slightly too long. Like, I feel like just like 20-30 pages shorter, things could have like flowed into each other better. Or I think a lot of kind of what is happening is like it's one problem at a time. So like we're doing like this plot line with our parents, and then we, you know, do like, you know, let's say 25 pages of that. Then we're dealing with like something with their relationship, and then we're dealing with like some other part of this magic. And I feel like none of it is happening like simultaneously. Or on, it would make the book shorter, but I feel like the flow of the story would be better, because like as I said, it feels like a little choppy, but because I'm interested, it's not bothering me too much. But as I said, it's just a little choppy. And number 2, they only know each other like 3 days. I'm like, that's fast. Like, I assumed like it had at least been like 2 weeks or something, but no, it's like day 3. I'm like, oh, that's a bit quick. So yeah, but other than that, still enjoying it. I'm still enjoying it. Also, like, again, not really. I feel like this is more like a demon story than a witch story. Like, yes, she is a witch, and like, I guess her plotline with her parents and her friends kind of revolves around her magic, but I feel like slightly more of it revolves around demons. Hello. So I finished A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon, and I really don't have much to add on it. Like, I don't have many thoughts on that book overall. It was a fun, good time. I told you earlier, like, the writing, at first it was just kind of a bit overwritten. Those sentence structures were a little weird, but as the book went on, that seemed to get better, and it flowed a lot easier, and I was able to get through it a lot faster, so that was fine. I liked the characters separately. I liked that, unlike with the XX, I liked how they discussed like the toxic family situation thing. But I had a couple of issues that, because so like it's a bit of a lower 4 stars just because. Here's the thing is like I don't think necessarily like there was anything like super wrong with the romance, and like I did enjoy it for the most part, but right near the endish there was a couple of things that just, I was like, if I was in either of their shoes, like if I was in his shoes, I probably wouldn't forgive her, and if I was in her shoes, I also probably wouldn't like that. And but I'm also just like a really unforgiving person, so I'm like, I don't necessarily think that it's like toxic romance. Like it wasn't. Like I think a lot of people would forgive that kind of stuff, but like I'm not a very forgiving person. So yeah, obviously I don't want to spoil things. Yeah, overall I did enjoy it. I liked the story, and definitely had some fun. Like it definitely did have like some cozy autumn vibes, and I did overall enjoy the romance. But like there was just a couple of things that I was like, not sure I like that. But overall I enjoy it. I don't think like this is like a companion series, whatever, like romances often are. And the next book I think is coming out in November, and it's like, it's a Demon's Guide to Woo No Witch, I think. I'm not going to read that because the two characters that it's about, again, I can't really say why it bothers me without spoiling it, but we are basically, you wrote an entire first book about a character learning to stick up for herself against her toxic family, and then you're going to have basically the love interest of the second book be a toxic character. I'm trying to figure out what I want to read next. I don't want to read Practical Magic, and I don't want to read A Discovery of Witches, so I went on Kindle Unlimited. And there's 3 options that are kind of speaking to me. Guide to Wayward Witches or something, and the other one is The House Witch or something. And then the third one, and the one that I'm kind of leaning towards because it's the shortest, which is odd for me, I usually like long books, The Secret Society of Irregular Witches or whatever it is. I think maybe I didn't put that on the list because it's also kind of romancy, very romancy, and I just kind of didn't want to just put too much romance on this. But like, the truth is, I don't care about Practical Magic. If I grew up watching the movie, maybe it would be fun to read the book. I've never watched the movie. I'm more interested in watching the movie than the book, and even then, not that interested. And The Discovery of Witches is another one that just does not interest me based on the premise. And yeah, and I think it has like kind of like an overbearing love interest, which I hate. So I don't really care about that. And so yeah, so I was trying to go for like different kind of witchy vibes, and it looks like this vlog is going to be all the exact same witchy vibes, which is romancy. We'll see. Hello. So I'm 1/3 of the way, well, roughly. I think I'm actually 32% of the way in, but close enough. I was way into The Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and I'm liking it so far. I would say at the point that I'm at, there actually has been like no romance. Like, yeah, there's, you know, they've actually had very few interactions, and yeah, they haven't really had that many interactions, and we've only now just kind of gone, like the other people in the house are kind of like, maybe we should scheme to get them together. I feel like the synopsis that a lot of people give does make me think, oh, gonna be romance. But yeah, I do actually think it is, at the moment anyway, it is definitely more focused on like the witchy aspect, which is what I wanted. And yeah, and like, I feel like this so far anyway is like the most like cozy autumn witchy book, because like with the XX, I just didn't really think it had the atmosphere, to be honest. With Kiki's Delivery Service, that felt like spring witch vibes. And then with Witch's Guide to Fake Dating, for some reason that just like felt more demon book than witch book, despite the fact, obviously, I mean, A Witch's Guide is literally the name of it, but for some reason I feel like we got like a lot more like demon lore than like magic lore. I mean, witch magic lore, which might be because of the fact that our character isn't very good at it. So whereas with this one, like, it's set in November, which I consider November winter, but we'll leave it. Obviously there's these 3 kids, and we're already getting a pretty good grasp on them, and obviously we're already been introduced to like our main character, and she also she seems pretty interesting. We're also learning actually quite a bit about like how magic works, how like the witch society works, and all of that. And so I'm having a good time. I just feel like I have very little to say on these books, so this is going to be a very boring vlog, but I will. Okay, so we're here to wrap this up, but also I have my very first Illumicrate box. Well, obviously I've bought special editions and stuff off them, but this is just a book only. So we're gonna unbox that as well. But first, I should find somewhere to put you down. We'll put you here. This is gonna be a terrible angle, but you're gonna deal with it. This is gonna be a terrible angle, but you're gonna deal with it. So, what was the last book I read? Oh, The Secret Society of Irregular Witches. Belly. Anyway, I give this book a 3-star. And you might be like, but you were enjoying it so much in the previous clips. And that is true. And I continued to enjoy it until 75%, where it went off the rails. The third act conflict. You know, sometimes books don't need a third act conflict. And it's like, I think this author didn't want to like be like, oh, I don't want this to be like, you know, miscommunication or romance. I don't want to fall into the romance tropes. So what can I do that's like fantasy related? And chose this thing. And I read it and I was like, no, that's not where this book is going. That is where that book was going. It completely drew me out of the story because I was like, I cannot believe that this is how the author has decided to create conflict in their book. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was genuinely in shock that this was what they chose. And so, and like, I mean, obviously a bit of suspending disbelief and all of that, that's what you do when you read. But oh my god, that's a whole new level of suspending disbelief and just like being okay with like completely illogical things. Just no, it just completely, it brought it down an entire star for me. It was so close to being a 4-star, and then that last 25%, as soon as that happened, I was no longer in the story, and so I was just like reading till the end, but I wasn't like invested or caring. I was just like, this is so silly. This is literally just like, it's just so silly. So yes, so those were the 4 books I read. So yeah, not the greatest, because 3 3-stars and 1 4-star. So even the 4-star, it's not a very high 4-star. So not a great success. I'm great now. So for a long time, I've been watching BookTube. I've been on BookTube for a while, and I've always loved. Out of all of the bookish boxes, I think Illumicrate has always been my favorite. Like, I was tempted to get the one that has like the items and all of that, but I thought realistically, like, I'm gonna be like really excited opening these items because like just like when I'm watching unboxing, like, yes, I do think so, like sometimes Fairy Loot wins, but like a lot of the time people that like I follow, they'll be like, oh, I waited for the Fairy Loot box, and like, oh my god, the stuff that was in the Illumicrate way more suits me. But and so I was going to go for the bookish items, but I thought realistically they're going to sit on my shelf for about a year, then I'm going to realize I haven't touched them and end up throwing them in the bin eventually, and that's just a waste. So save my money, save the environment, just get the book. So book only. I believe this is the October one. So oh, this is beautiful. And also, I think this actually might be a Witchy book, which, shame it didn't come like a week earlier. So we got bubble wrap. I see a green edge. Oh, yeah. Okay. So this is After the Forest by Kel Woods. And then green. So yeah, so let me see. So this is a Hansel and Gretel retelling, continuation. And so it's 20 years after, and she has stolen the witches from like the original story. She stole her magic book. Her whole town, her family, they're all struggling, and she's starting to think that maybe magic might be the answer. So I decided a witchy book. A little too late. Ooh, some of the pages are a bit stuck together. 467 pages. Nice. Yeah, some of the edges are a bit. But yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.